Well, good afternoon, friends. Today is May 22nd, and we are several weeks into this COVID-19 pandemic. And there's a lot of questions that are being asked today, a lot of questions that have been asked really from the beginning of this as to what in the world is happening. And I'm sure you've addressed or had conversations with friends or family about some of those questions or concerns. And I guess what I want to address today is the number one question that has come to me over these past few weeks, and that is whether or not I believe that this COVID-19 is God's judgment on the world for increasing wickedness and this rejection of God around the world, and specifically here in the United States. And I guess my answer to that, my unnuanced answer to that, would be yes and no. Our world is under judgment, and sin has caused God's good creation to now become a creation that groans under the weight of that sin. In fact, the Apostle Paul in the Bible, in the New Testament, Romans chapter 8, in verses 20 through 22, addresses this very issue. He says, "For the creation was subjected to futility, not willingly, but because of him who subjected it, in hope that the creation itself will be set free from its bondage to corruption and obtain the freedom of the glory of the children of God. For we know that the whole creation has been groaning together in the pains of childbirth until now." Paul's telling us that this creation that we're a part of, this world that we're a part of, has been in childbirth ever since the beginning of sin, and those labor pains and those groanings are going to become more and more intense as time moves closer to the end. I want you to listen to how Max Lucado depicts these growing groans. He says, "Nature is a pregnant creation, third trimester heavy. When a tornado rips through a city in Kansas or an earthquake flattens a region in Pakistan, this is more than barometric changes or shifts of ancient fault lines. The universe is passing through the final hours before delivery. Painful contractions are in the forecast." And I believe the coronavirus points towards these contractions. The second thing is that there are some sicknesses, some diseases, some natural disasters that are the direct result of individual or natural sin. The Bible contains many of these targeted judgments that come from God. I want you to take some time and look at that. You can find specific instances of this in Scripture. And then number three, no one on earth can say with certainty whether or not the coronavirus is or is not divine judgment. How can I say that? Because God hasn't said it. Apart from divine revelation, we cannot say if any modern plague is directly His judgment. And if anyone says that they know for certain that this coronavirus is specifically God's judgment on the world, then they're being presumptuous and they're being prideful. That person is saying that they have some special insight to the counsel of God that God Himself has not chosen to reveal to anyone else. Author Mark Hitchcock has a great maxim that I think that we should live by. He says, when God speaks, we must speak. When God is silent, we must be silent. God has chosen to be silent on COVID-19. Now, there's 4 questions related to COVID-19 and the judgment of God that I want to answer for you real quick. The first one is our fallen sinful world under judgment? Yes, I believe so, absolutely. From the very beginning of creation, when sin entered into mankind, God's judgment became apparent at that point in time. Number 2, can specific diseases or plagues be judgments from God? Yes, absolutely. Again, the Bible shows many examples of that. Number 3, are all diseases and plagues judgments from God? No. We live in a fallen world, and God has allowed some of the repercussions of that to affect us on a daily basis. And it's not necessarily a judgment from Him. It is simply the results from living in a fallen world and nature. And then number 4, is God warning us of a greater future judgment to come and calling us to be ready? Yes, I believe so. Absolutely. I believe that that's the case. All diseases, all disasters are ultimately a result of the fall of man and sin. So maybe instead of being so focused on whether this virus is a prelude to the coming tribulation period or whether an upcoming vaccine is going to contain some kind of nanotechnology that will allow it to eventually be used for the mark of the beast. I believe what God is saying to us is that you need to surrender your life to me if you've never done so. And if you have, then start living your daily life in a way that conforms to my will. Maybe we should go with what we know, and what we know is that God is in control and nothing escapes His will. So let's live in a way that is pleasing to Him and loving to others. Instead of asking, is this the judgment of God? The important question for us to ask is, am I right with God? I believe if we would ask that daily and live our lives in ways that are pleasing to Him and loving to others, that we would be so much better for it. God has a plan. He's in control. Let's just be obedient and be good, godly children of the great God and King. Thank you for today, for your time today on this video. I pray you have a great weekend coming up, and I look forward to bringing you a message on Sunday. God bless you all. Take care. I love you. Talk to you soon. Bye-bye.